welcome to episode 221 of the Campus Comics Cast as we go absolutely savage for this episode. My name is Scott Reed, and I'm joined by...
Mike Atchison. That was very clever use of words there, Scott.
Oh, okay. Well, you're very welcome. So if you can't pick it up from the clue, what we are going to talk about in this episode are what we're calling the first 6 issues of the... Well, I guess not the first 6 titles. The first issue of the first 6 titles of the Absolute Universe, which is Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern, not necessarily in that order. And then we're going to talk about the first 5 appearances of the Savage Dragon, courtesy of Erik Larsen. So, Mike, you got anything you want to talk about before we dive in to some Absolute DC?
No, I mean, I've got a couple Roadshow episodes coming out soon. They're all kind of queued up to send over to you, Scott. But
okay,
I'll kind of leave them as surprises as to what the shops and the books are. But they're coming up.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. So, okay. So I guess we're going to start with Absolute Batman. Now, Mike, as we were getting ready to record, we talked briefly about this DC all-in special that kind of has the formation of the Absolute Universe. Now, we didn't read this as part of the initial reading for the Absolute Universe. You sounded like you knew a little bit about what was covered in that issue, and it doesn't sound like it's necessary reading.
No, not at all. It's just a queue up for this. Absolute Power was an event with Amanda Waller as a main antagonist, and then that kind of led to this all-in special, which first introduced the idea of the Absolute Universe and Earth Alpha, which is where these heroes reside. I think what differentiates these stories from Elseworlds stories is that they have a shared continuity and they're working. It's basically Ultimate Universe for Marvel, but at DC. And they brought in some pretty good creators, but it's very what's the word? It's the difference between mainstream hero world, Earth 1, whatever it's called now, Earth 0, and this universe is that everything's a lot bleaker. It's all of these characters are kind of like coming to the fore right now, not coming into these stories with decades of history. Their backstories are changed to a degree. Bruce Wayne's not wealthy. Diana Prince or Wonder Woman didn't grow up on Themyscira, and Clark Kent wasn't raised by the Kents. So that's the 3 examples I got. And yeah, it's that's basically it. And I have to say, Scott, just as the lead in here, my favorite thing about it is that it feels like what it might have felt like in 1956, or maybe even around 1960, when the Silver Age came about, and you had these creators that were Julius Schwartz, namely, kind of trying to come up with new versions of the old characters to make them interesting and contemporary. And I don't know that they're contemporary, but it's definitely a new version with more room for these creators to kind of to flex their creative muscles. It just feels different. It feels different than any of the other alternate, even like Multiversity and things like that. That seemed really fast and furious. And the premise seems solid, but I'll just leave it at the premise because I know we might have other opinions going into the quality of the work.
Well, when you were talking about that, what it reminded me of was back right after the time of Secret Wars, and I think it ended up being tied directly to the Secret Wars. Was we had the Beyonder, who was this all-powerful character in the Marvel Universe, and if I remember correctly, when he was defeated, that was the spark that created Marvel's new universe.
Yeah.
Now, when that happened, though, instead of taking 8 versions of existing characters, they created 8 new titles that were its own complete separate universe that didn't have any basis. So that's where we got I can't even remember all. Most of them were garbage too, just as an aside. But like only a handful of them made it to 32 issues. You got like Starbrand, which actually does exist in the Marvel Universe proper now.
Yeah.
You had a character named Justice. You had
DP7.
yeah, DP7 was one of them. Night Mask, which also, thanks to Jonathan Hickman, who we were talking about before we recorded, he brought Night Mask and Starbrand into the Marvel Universe, not the other way around. But anyway, Kickers Inc.
Oh, Kickers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're just popping into my head periodically, but it's not important for what.
But it's a good comparison. I mean, a good,
Yeah.
you know, I don't. Of course, the other common denominator between Secret Wars and New Universe was Jim Shooter, because both were definitely concepts of his.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes new is good. I'll be quite honest. There's times I'm like, why am I reading books that are just repetitive? I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I'm looking for something just new and different. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's just like comfort food, Mike. Sometimes you just want to go in knowing what you're going to get.
Well, that did. I won't deny that either. Yeah, I won't deny. You can't change too much. You can't put, Gnord as the Green Lantern of the head of the Green Lantern Corps. No, I do like some consistency too. But
yeah. All right. Well, now whatever. I didn't really write much of a synopsis for each of these issues. My synopsis for each issue is about 2 or 3 sentences.
Oh.
That being said, what I was wanting to focus on more was like how these characters are different from the DC proper universe.
Okay.
Is what really the focus. Now I don't know how you tackled the issue breakdown. What did you do as far as
I spent days writing synopsis for my 3.
I just don't want to hear that you use ChatGPT to write your synopsis.
I didn't use ChatGPT.
Okay,
I didn't do it all by myself either. I found a pretty good one on Wikipedia for Wonder Woman, a pretty good one on Fandom for. But I do go through it and just like as I'm reading and pull away and add to and stuff. So.
Okay.
So if you don't want to, we don't have to do the.
No, we didn't say what we were going to do, and I just kind of decided, because it's only one issue. You're not getting like a complete story. These are obviously written for trade. They're going to be 5 to 6, typically 5 or 6 issues. So we can get out of trade. So we're only getting introduced briefly to these characters and to the story. So I really feel like it didn't really need a deep dive into. So that's how I pursued it. Like I said, I'm more focused on what we know is different about the characters, which for some people that's what's going to be attractive about this version is how they maybe are different than what they are used to.
Yep.
So that's how I chose to tackle it. So.
I'm down for that.
All right. Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive into Batman. So Absolute Batman number 1. I realized what I should have done though was I should have listed the creators on these books in my notes, and I did not do that.
Well, I can tell you Batman if you want help.
Well, I'm in the process of pulling it up right now. So I believe that it is Scott Snyder is the writer. Okay, and the art was
Nick.
Do you remember who the art was?
Dragotta.
Okay, all right. So thank you. So anyway, brief synopsis for issue 1 of Absolute Batman. Basically, we got a new gang coming into Gotham known as the Party Animals. All right, and Batman is obviously aligned himself against this group. We have Alfred Pennyworth dead in the current DC universe. At least I think he's still dead in the current DC universe. Is that
sort of the Fraction run I heard is using him in a different way, but I haven't read it. So
okay, yeah, I think he's an AI.
Oh, okay.
In the
Spoilers.
I've read the first issue of the Fraction. Oh man.
No, I heard that already. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so Alfred though apparently is working for some mysterious organization, and he is here inside of Gotham, keeping his eye on things. Mm-hmm. And I guess the crux of what happens is the Party Animals they stage an attack on a town hall type meeting that is being led by James Gordon. Batman arrives, we get the fight, and kind of the issue ends.
Yeah.
So as far as what happens in the issue, not a whole lot. So now before I start talking about some of the differences, that's where most of my notes are on for this
Hmm.
issue. Is there anything just like initial story wise
I
that you want to bring up or add to
Oh
that?
yeah, I think there's the establishment of the backstory here is different. It does get into the origin
Hmm.
of Batman, and I almost started talking about Dark Age, Batman Dark Age, because I just read that too. Uh,
Oh, okay.
so his mother's still living,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
he's his.
Well, do they explicitly say anything about his mother in this
Oh
issue?
yeah, she's
Okay,
yeah
really?
he's like
Why do I not
yeah,
remember
towards
that?
the end of the story or end of the issue, he checks in on her because she was there when that attack by the party animals happened on City Hall or whatever it was. Um, his I forget what
Okay.
happened with his dad, but his what I found striking was.
Well, so okay, so that's one of my notes is that parents are not killed in Crime Alley.
Hmm.
However, his father gets killed on a trip to the
That's
zoo
it.
where he is ushering some children, including Bruce, into a room. And then there's a gunshot. We don't actually see the death,
Hmm.
but that's how um, Thomas Wayne. I assuming his name's still Thomas Wayne
Hmm.
in this iteration. So yeah, dies.
Hmm.
Okay, go ahead. But you were talking about his
Just
mother.
yeah, his mother and his the new spin on Alfred. His Alfred's a sort of a mercenary spy
Hmm.
type, and he was sent by this mysterious organization with explicit orders not to intervene in any of the party animals' violence. But if this new character, this new person on scene, Batman, does, he's supposed to intervene then. But Alfred chooses to defy those orders. The the inclusion, at least of Croc, the civilian Croc. It's not a transformed Croc,
Hmm.
but there you can see they talk about the childhood friends of I forget what Croc's real name was, but you had Croc and Ozzy, which I'm assuming was Oswald Cobblepot,
Cobblepot.
Selena,
Hmm.
and then Harvey Dent. They're all like in a photo on this page, on page
Okay.
14, I think. And you have a sort of a new villain that's Black Mass, a new version of Black Mask, who's
Hmm.
kind of handing the Falcone and Maroni crime families their rear ends, and uh, yeah, that's my main thoughts about it. Yeah.
Okay. Did they? Okay. Now the croc thing was kind of obvious because he's literally carrying around a crocodile. Um,
Hmm.
I did not. I was actually looking for the words "black mask," and I did not see "black mask"
In the
in this
story.
comic anyway. Of course, I also missed where he called the lady sitting on the steps his mom. She's not drawn like she's much older than Bruce, really.
Right.
Um, in the art style, so I guess it just wasn't blatantly obvious to me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
um,
Black Mask. I don't know if it said the name or not, but I gleaned that from the sort of the design. Plus, his
yeah,
wife calls him Ro or Roman, which is Black Mask's
okay,
first name, his real name.
okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of thought it was Black Mask, but I just never saw it. So I thought, well, the look is different enough.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes sense with the quote unquote party animals all kind of have that black,
Mm,
skull look to them. So
right. Right.
he's not a character that I really know a whole lot about, and the Birds of Prey
Oh
Harley Quinn movie didn't really do him much
no, we're
justice.
not
So
at all. This one's pretty
yeah,
brutal though. I thought that scene was pretty good.
yeah. So okay, so mother's still alive. All right, as was mentioned, Alfred is basically a member of this organization. And so he's like a spy. That's been done several times, and often it has been done so that Alfred could be part of Bruce's training and explain how he is able to
Hmm.
manage the back computer and knows what to be looking for as far as crime goes and does some of his experience depending on if we're talking about the comics or the movie or
Sure.
whatever. He's not just a traditional butler.
Right. Right. Of course.
Now something that's the same in now this version of Batman does not kill. Now
Hmm.
he's still pretty brutal, okay, but apparently they go out of their way to note that he is deliberately missing arteries and
Hmm.
and the like to not actually kill the people that he is fighting. So that's kind of something that was tacked on to Batman Proper's origin, because he started with a gun, right? So
Right. Right.
yeah, so that was something that came in later on, and then we have, you mentioned Black Mask and Selena and Harvey Dent, but we also had like the Maroney family, the Falcones. We get a mention of the Joker at the end of the issue.
Yep.
So there are ties to at least all of the typical Batman Rogues Gallery
Hmm.
in this book. So
I thought the art was fantastic by this Nick Dragotta, and it's or Dragata maybe it's pronounced. I just read East of West, that first volume, and that's my first experience seeing his art. And then when I seen this, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, he's got a good style. I don't know. At first, I was really kind of put off by the design of him being such Batman being such a bulky Batman,
hmm
but
that's my next note.
yeah, but I sort of got over it.
Yeah, yeah, he's a lot buffer,
Yeah. Yeah.
in this iteration.
I
So,
mean, he's like Bane size.
well, I mean, okay, so I do know just from being in the DC app that like Bane is part of the current storyline that's taking
Oh,
place in Absolute
okay.
Batman.
I don't know that.
So maybe like 12,
Hmm.
11, 12, 13 issues
Hmm.
they're actually into this series. Now, one thing that I could not tell because of the coloring, all right, is we do have Barbara Gordon and Jim Gordon in this issue. Barbara Gordon is clearly black. Jim Gordon, I can't make that determination based on the coloring in this issue. So when he is at that town hall meeting,
Hmm.
I he looks. It's hard for me to say. Could he
Yeah.
be a light-skinned black person? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or is he white, which means that he is going to have a black wife in the absolute universe? Or is Barbara adopted? I guess that's even another possibility. You see what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about?
And I'm not. I mean, but my goodness, I can't even. I can't remember. I can't remember.
Okay, that's fine. To me, that was like, I mean, it's that point is kind of interesting because they're doing something different with the character. Obviously, it is not important the color of Jim Gordon's skin
Mm-mm.
for him to be commissioner of Gotham, but I'm just trying to point out some of the things that may or may not have changed, and I'm just not for sure based on what I am seeing, you know. But he does, Barbara does call Jim Gordon dad. Barbara, just get everyone out of here after he gets, shot by the party animals. Um, so
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. That's if there's one thing I'm curious about is where that's going to go.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's the color. Of course, I'm looking at the black and white noir for some reason. I
oh
was looking
yeah,
online and I picked the wrong one, but no, I think
hmm
Jim Gordon. I mean, he's got a flat top. It's yeah. I don't know that there's been a change in race for
yeah.
either of them.
I'm not sure. So that's
I
maybe
just
one thing that
yeah,
I would, how this is the only issue of this series I've read.
yeah.
How far into Absolute have you read?
I have no just for just the first issue of all of these series.
Oh
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
So I thought you were. Well, I thought you'd read several Wonder Woman. I thought you were reading Wonder Woman
I've
this
got them.
monthly. Oh, okay. All right. So you're just not reading them.
But
Okay.
now I
All right.
see a
I got you.
picture of Barbara with the curly hair, and now you do have me second guessing. Yeah, she's
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you. No, she is. Barbara is for certain black
Okay,
in this first issue
okay, okay.
because I am looking at. I mean, unless it's just one of the worst, coloring jobs on the
Yeah,
face of the planet,
yeah.
it is very very clear.
Okay.
Um, but again, it is unclear to me. Because he's either very tan
Hmm.
or I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just so again, I'm just doing this to point out some things that have changed a little
Just
bit.
the differences,
You
yeah.
know,
With
yeah. So there's some differences here with the Gordon family, that is for sure. So
and you got the Batman's uniform. I mean, he's got the long
yeah,
pointy ears that also double as actual weapons, which for once makes sense. He's got that bat. The bat symbol on his chest is more of a rectangle with a couple with
uh-huh.
points.
Yep.
Almost looks like an axe handle. Speaking of axe handles, he uses an axe
Uses
as a
one,
weapon or at least a defensive device.
and chops off somebody's
Yeah,
hand.
he actually did do that
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, and he gave him
But when
very slow. To,
he stabs people with the ears. But again, they make it a point.
yeah, miss the
He
arteries.
misses the
Yeah,
arteries. You know. So.
yeah, yeah.
So okay. So there was nothing in this issue that particularly excited me. I don't feel like there was anything here that couldn't have been part of a regular Batman story.
Mm.
You know, it's or even just an Elseworlds. I'm just like, eh. And this is the one that started it all. I mean, people were going nuts
Mm-hmm.
over this book,
Yeah, it's still. I think it's on
and
its like ninth print run.
it's been reprinted multiple times, and I just don't see the appeal. Unless you just want to strip away the Bat family
Yeah.
and just have Batman, maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly, they're setting this up to start introducing the Bat family with the cast of characters that we were presented here in the first issue.
I mean, I reserve judgment in the long. I mean, it's too early really to tell, but I like it. I like it so far, even despite the fact
Okay.
that Scott Snyder has not been my favorite writer. I did not like his Justice League run at all. I did not like the Death Metal series. It was a
His
convoluted
stuff
mess.
post the New 52 Batman, I have not enjoyed.
Yeah,
Now, the New 52 Batman was like one of
Court
the
of Owls.
better
Yeah,
books.
yeah,
Yeah, because you had the Court of Owls
yeah.
and several things going on there, Talon and
I'll put it this way: I am interested and entertained.
okay.
So
Then you're a step above me because if this had been my introduction, I would not have gone on with
yeah,
Absolute Batman,
yeah.
and I probably wouldn't have gone on with any of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, you got anything else you want to say about Absolute Batman?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, I believe you've got Absolute Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and I have a synopsis, but I'm not going to read all the way. I'm just going to, I guess, do like you. I'll first say it's.
Hey, you do what you want to do.
Okay, well.
You do you.
Okay.
I do me.
Okay. So
Whatever makes you happy.
Kelly Thompson is the writer, and Hayden Sherman is the artist. That's one thing I noticed consistent with all 6 of these titles is that the artists they do the inking and the penciling. It's not just they don't have it's all one, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that there's consistency throughout the issues. Some of these issues were longer than others. I think the Batman and Superman were around 40 pages, and some were more your traditional comic size. But so I'll quickly give a synopsis for as quickly as I can do it for Wonder Woman, Absolute Wonder Woman 1. The title of it's called Last Amazon. A mysterious upside-down pyramid hovers over the shores of Gateway City, abruptly unleashing hundreds of winged demons onto the unsuspecting city. Alan, a reporter from the Gate News Channel, fearfully bears witness, and citizens panic as the harbingers rain destruction, prompting the appearance of a mysterious Amazon, Diana of Themyscira. Clad in black and red armor and riding her winged skeletal horse, Pegasus, the masked Diana, and I mean masked with like a full helm, wields the enchanted Athena blade to cut through the onslaught. She slaughters many harbingers and then intones like a spell that sends a magical shockwave to repel the remaining beasts. The story then flashes back to Diana's origin, which was on this barren, wild Isle of Hell, which was sort of the literal location of hell in Greek mythology, I guess. The god Apollo delivers an infant Diana into the care of the banished witch Circe. Apollo explains that Diana is the last of the Amazons, and he decrees that Circe is now Diana's warden, and forbids Circe from ever uttering the word Amazon aloud again. Coldly abandoning the newborn, Circe expects Hell's monsters to kill it. Instead, a serpent attacks the baby, and Diana calmly grabs it and throws it across the room. Circe relents and raises Diana as her own, pretty much falling in love with her. Over years of toil, Circe uses magic to transform the wasteland into a more livable home while teaching Diana whatever sorcery and morals she knows. By adolescence, Diana has become Circe's fierce protector and a powerful sorceress in her own right. A word has been in Diana's mind, but she has been afraid to utter it. Her mother, meaning Circe, counsels her to say it and know that it is what Diana is, an Amazon. Circe encourages Diana to embrace it and pick up the mantle of the Amazons by protecting the world above from the oldest of monsters. And then back in the present, Diana emerges from the smoke of her battle with the Harbinger beasts and orders a soldier to evacuate the civilians. At that moment, a greater beast, a greater threat appears, and it's the Harbinger Prime. And Diana meets this new beast head on with her greatest weapons, which is a red, basically lasso, sort of a red version of the golden lasso, and this just other weapons. The sword of Athena, I guess, and all of this was provided to her by her mother, Cersei. So that's my quick synopsis.
Okay. I don't have a lot of comments about this one. Obviously, probably the big thing is that I feel like they're tying it more directly into, and I never can get my Greek and Roman mythology
Yeah,
straight.
yeah,
I'm just typical. They're
yeah.
two sides of the same coin as far as I'm
Mm-hmm.
concerned. Um, but yeah, it's like definitely a stronger tie to mythology than what you have in the traditional Wonder Woman books.
Yeah, depending on the run, yes,
Yeah,
it goes,
yeah.
comes and goes. It's I think it's I mean, the biggest contrast that is interesting to me is that Cersei raised her, and
Uh-huh.
Cersei is evil. She got banished to hell, so literally to this island called Hell, and it's barren, and she's basically has to stay there. But for some reason, this baby was delivered to her to take care of, and Apollo didn't really care whether it lived or died, but Cersei was basically going to let it die on its own with all these little demon beasts that are crawling around. There are scenes in here where Diana, and this is one of my favorite things about it, is that she went from these kind of just calming the demons down to they actually crawl in and sleep with her. I mean, you got these little monsters. It's just definitely a Diana thing. Uh, it's yeah, it, the it's everything's extreme kind of. I mean, you got the big Batman, and now you got the Wonder Woman that she's a warrior, and she takes the blood of her victims and wipes it across her eyes like it's football black paint. She's got this giant sword. I mean, a crazy giant big sword of Athena. That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's a call out to like manga is what that is. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a common theme in mangas where you've got this hero with the huge sword.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but overall, I like the idea. I like the origin. I like the. It's hard not to like. You know, the battle scenes are still not. They're not really any different. She's prevailed so far, but she's got this Harbinger Prime is just a giant red evil spy versus spy character. So you think of he's got these kind of a beak look, and it is kind of scary looking in some ways. But then I keep thinking about the Mad Magazine Spy versus Spy. So
Until he opens his mouth.
yeah, then it's all crazy. Yeah.
I feel like this version of Wonder Woman is a little bit more magic based.
Oh yeah,
I
she's
feel like
got
she's
yeah,
actually
yes, yes,
casting
yep.
spells as opposed to just using her equipment
Hmm.
and her physical abilities.
Hmm.
It looks like she has something comparable to the gauntlets.
Oh yeah, she
To her,
defended herself from that beast, his
yeah,
laser eyes or whatever. She
yeah.
defended her. Yeah, she crossed her arms like
Hmm.
that's what you see in some Wonder Woman stories.
Right.
And Kelly Thompson, she's one of my favorite modern authors or writers. I'm willing to give her a chance on this. I didn't like her Birds of Prey. I had to give that up early on. I did not like her Birds of Prey.
I'm not for sure how much Kelly Thompson I've read. Um, of the six absolute titles that we're going to talk about, this was, in my opinion, in the upper half of them.
Sure.
So I don't know if I can't decide where it falls, but it's probably in the top three, and maybe even one or two. I don't know. I haven't really sat down and thought if I were to rank them, how I would rank them.
Yeah.
But I definitely put it as one of the six that we read.
Yeah. I've got sort of a ranking in my head too. If we do that at the end, I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, we can just see what happens.
Okay.
So.
All right.
All right. Anything else to add on Absolute Wonder Woman?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right. Absolute Superman. Oh, once again, guess what I did? Okay, written by Jason Aaron. I do know that.
Rafa Sandoval.
Rafa Sandoval. Okay. Is all right. So, we spend a lot of time in Absolute Superman on Krypton, where we're introduced to Jor-El and Laura on Krypton, and this is a Krypton not unlike the Krypton that we kind of or think we might know. It is basically a caste system where you have, I don't know, they really only talk about 3 of the caste levels. You have the laborers, which is the lowest level. You have the middle management. They literally use the words middle management, which I thought was pretty terrible. And then the ruling class, which is going to be your political or your upper caste of the caste system. So Jor-El and Laura basically are working. They're part of the laborer caste as well, but they are working to try to help those who are basically being stepped on or overworked by those above them. Back on Earth, we see that Superman, so Kal-El, I don't think he's actually called Superman, but we know who Kal-El is, right? Is basically this journeyman who is out there to help the downtrodden, which I know is a callback to kind of the earliest appearances of Superman, where he's more of the defender of the everyman as opposed to, the truth, justice, and the American way guy.
Yeah.
This is, so in this particular instance, he's in Brazil and he's helping these miners who are being basically, it's just short of slave labor. They are being forced to bring out some minerals, and I can't even remember what all it was, but Superman goes in, does the work for diamonds, yeah. So goes in, does the work for them so that the Brazilians are able to then, meet their quota or complete the job. Well, after this, Superman, Kal-El, ends up fighting peacemakers, all right, which is the Peacemaker that we're familiar with. It's basically an organization that has the look of the Peacemaker, who are in some shape, form, or fashion led by Lois Lane. So Lois Lane here is not a journalist. She's military, just like her father was military in the DC proper universe. And they basically are able to capture Kal-El at the end of the issue. So what as far as, so probably the big thing, and it's not mentioned explicitly, I think, in this issue, because I did listen to an interview with Jason Aaron, where one of the big changes here for Kal-El is that he does spend a portion of his childhood with his natural parents. So that has kind of steered his way of thinking just a little bit. So instead of coming to Earth as an infant, he's going to end up on Earth much later in his life.
Yeah, you didn't get that from the first issue.
Yeah, so that is something that, again, I got that from the Jason Aaron run, or Jason Aaron interview that I listened to. So that was kind of, I don't know, spoiled is not really the right word for it, but it's something. And then we hear this extra voice talking to Kal-El throughout the issue, providing him with these little warnings and telling him things and commenting on things. Well, again, this is, I don't think, explicitly talked about in the first issue, but that is his cape speaking to him.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah.
So again, spoiler.
I know that a lot of this is his uniform, his suit. His powers, a lot of it's derived from his suit, or at least they accentuate. It
seems to be that way. Yeah. So we do get the hints that something's going to happen to Krypton, because again, there's mining taking place. That's one of the scenes in the book. Jor-El is telling them they got to stop mining. Well, since he's a laborer class, the middle management class comes in and says, no, you're going to get out of here, and my guys are going to get back to work. And then at that point, this, miner, well, not necessarily a miner, but what I'm assuming is just some type of kryptonite. If it's not kryptonite directly, it's kryptonite energy that's coming out of the center of the planet, and it's obviously has an effect on the Kryptonians.
Yeah.
So, all right, what all do you want to talk about? I don't really have a whole lot of comments on this
I
one,
don't have many
but
either. I mean, it's this to me is probably the least divergent from the mainstream Superman. Even though you don't have the Kents, you just got, like you said, Kal El coming later, I guess, in his childhood or whatever, enough to where he is influenced by the Kryptonian parents. But that's not made clear in this first issue. They really
no,
emphasize the caste system, and that drives his purpose of protecting the lower class, the laborers in these diamond mines. I don't mind the design, but I'm not. I The story itself is not as interesting to me.
okay. Well, so we do know about Kal El being on Krypton because when you get to that little epilogue thing, all right, there at the
Hmm.
end, we actually see in central Kansas, right, the Kent property. So we know that there's going to be some tie to the Kents at some point in the future. All right. Then, you know, Jor-El comes back to Laura, and then she's like, Cal, where's Cal? Cal, Laura, where's our son? And then you see him, and he is clearly I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years old at this point at the end of the issue. So, and he's with the white dog. Just throwing that out there. And it would be great if somebody would unmute their mic.
You don't need to hear me talk.
Nope, apparently I don't. So,
Yeah, I would just yeah. He's about 7 or 8, and he's just walking around. I'm
mm-hmm.
clicking through on the computer here, the DC app.
So we know there's at least a certain amount of time that he spends, but we are going to get something with the Kents at some point in the future because they make it a point to show their, abandoned homestead
Yeah,
at least. So,
right.
all right. Anything else you want to add
No, I don't believe so.
about that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then I think we're going to move on to what was it?
Flash.
Flash.
Absolute Flash. Of two worlds. I'm not sure why it says that. It's, must be a theme with Flash. So, I I picked up this synopsis from Fandom, and it says, in the desert, 15-year-old Wally West has a panic attack as lightning and red after images explode out of him. He struggles to calm himself using techniques his mother taught him. 2 days prior, Wally is standing alone on a set of railroad tracks in the rain. He's momentarily confused but remembers where and who he is and starts walking home at Fort Fox, an army base where he lives with his father. He arrives long after curfew, and the guards threaten to call his father, but a scientist named Barry Allen smooths things over and walks Wally home. As they go, Barry commiserates with Wally about his boredom at Fort Fox and the trouble he has making friends due to frequently moving. They reach Wally's house, but before he goes in, Barry asks him if he wants to see something cool. So Barry takes him to his research lab called where they're working on Project Olympus. Wally is duly amazed at all the technology, and when Wally asked what this all was, Barry was evasive and just said it was cutting edge of physics and biology. Wally believes he tells Wally that he believes that there is great potential in him, and he invites him to work on his project. Wally's eager to do it, and but he didn't think his dad would let him. Barry says, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll talk to your dad." But just as he said that, Dad walks in. He's Colonel Rudy West, and he's not busy. He's not ready to hear Barry's persuasive conversation. He just starts chewing out Wally for being late and Barry for letting the boy into this highly secret area. So in the present, Wally is being pursued by a tank with what appear to be this universe's version of the Flash Rogues Gallery. You got the leader, which is the captain, obviously the
Mm-hmm.
Captain Cold. The pilot is Digger. That's got to be Digger Harkness, Captain Boomerang, and they basically, and you've got a couple other ones. You've got the Golden Glider, which is Lisa Snart. That's Captain Cold's sister, and you've got Trickster. They just refer to that one as Jesse, which is, I assume, James Jesse, which doesn't look anything like the Trickster. But anyway, they're pursuing Wally. He runs into the mountain, uh, but then it flashes back again to the day before, where Wally sneaks into the Project Olympus, and he basically did something to cause the system. He triggered something that ended up looking like it kills Barry, and we see that in the present where Wally goes to the end of the cave and finds Barry's corpse, and he's very much Wally's blaming himself for the death. And then the last scene has this universe's version of the Mirror Master saying,
Yep.
"Mirror, mirror on the wall, time to make this whole world fall." So that's my paraphrased shortening of that synopsis.
Okay, now I didn't take it to that Wally caused the accident. I think he just happened to walk in.
Yeah,
from
that scene doesn't really show that. I guess but I knew what was coming next, and Barry's dead, so Wally thinks he caused it. No, I think it's
Maybe,
possible, or at least Wally thinks he did. So that's really, yeah, that's really it.
So you think the monkey there is supposed to be, not Grodd, but the other monkey. That's
On
who am I
Flash,
thinking of? The
like,
from Flash, yeah,
wow.
the white one.
Oh, that's not really a Flash villain. That's Ultra Humanite. That's an old Superman villain.
Well, yeah, but wasn't there there's another gorilla in Gorilla City?
Oh, King Solivar.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it
Okay.
could be. I mean, I don't know
Solivar.
what
Yeah.
you with this different design or this spin on.
Well, much smaller.
Well, yeah,
Well,
yes.
it's hard to tell if he's much smaller.
Well, he's in
I,
he doesn't look like a gorilla. I'll just say that. But
yeah.
yeah, these are all creatures that are being experimented on.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know what they're doing. This is like the first issue. It leaves a lot out there for us to guess at, but I'm sure it'll be revealed. I like this one. I thought the art was great. I didn't say who wrote.
Yeah.
It was
Jeff
Jeff
Lemire
Lemire
and
and Nick Robles. I don't know Nick Robles. I don't know him at all, but I thought it was good art. And I really like the new take on the Rogues. Oh, the reference to Blue Trinity. Did you see that scene? There was.
Yeah, I saw the reference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so that is a trio of Soviet speedsters that was created to battle the Flash in the Mike Baron Jackson Geist run of the Flash right after
Oh, okay.
Crisis in the late 80s. I remember that very clearly.
Okay. Well, this was definitely in my bottom three of the absolute stories.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there wasn't much here that made me go, yeah, I want to know what happens to Wally next. I really could care less what happens to Wally next.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's because I'm not sure why.
His powers really don't seem to be any different. I mean, but he's not. At this point, he doesn't have the powers. So.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, he has the powers. He just can't do any control of them.
Right.
It's just like they've happened, and we just get some effects of what he's done with the time. Really, more it's about moving through time than it is about running really fast.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's curious.
And it jumps around so much.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it was definitely
2 days ago, a year later. It's just all over the place.
That's not always my favorite way of telling a story, that non-linear, but it wasn't too hard to follow. It's just it's harder to explain than it is to read it.
Right. Yeah, I really do not have any other comments.
Yeah,
on
that's
this
pretty
one,
much
so.
it for me. I mean, I did like it. I thought it was Wally is very frantic. He's a kid. He's 15. I didn't mention that. So it's a different experience for him. He is sort of like Kid Flash age. And yeah, So I think that this could have potential as well. I'm not put off by it.
All right. Okay, so absolute Green Lantern. So this is fourth, fifth, or sixth book. We kind of looks like the last three were maybe released right around the same time as each other. So this was written by Al Ewing with art by John D. Lindsay. So basically, we start with Hal Jordan. Of course, it's a Green Lantern book, right? So you got to have Hal Jordan. But instead of at this point getting the power of the Green Lantern, it appears he has the power of the Black Hand. And anybody that basically sees this Black Hand is ultimately killed by the Black Hand.
Yep.
So
At least the first. He hasn't.
at least, well, the
been able to
first
control it.
two for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, we don't know. I'm assuming that everybody in that cafe is dead, though they don't show that everybody in the cafe is dead. So that's not perfectly clear. But the sheriff and the cafe owner are definitely both killed by the,
Right.
or they're at least removed from the current location. I guess we could maybe make an argument about that. But it
Right.
appears that the Black Hand kills them.
Yep.
All right. So we are back in Evergreen, Nevada. That's a little on the nose, I think, for the name of the town. Where Hal has just traveled from, there is a large lantern construct that has fallen on the city. Flashback to Evergreen, where Hal, John Stewart, and Sojourner Joe Mullion are at a cafe. I guess Hal likes his cafes. When the construct appears, and in its wake brings various types of death and destruction upon Evergreen. And also, they point out in the sky an alien figure named Abin Sur. Back at the cafe where Hal has arrived, Sojourner arrives encased in a green glow and confronts Hal.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot. I mean, I guess a whole lot happens, but not a lot happens in this story.
This is
It's kind of hard.
This one's kind of on the bottom three for me too. It's even though it's fine to see Joe and John and Hal as not GLs, they refer to Guy as like the chief of police in the town. It not bad, but it 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 didn't really like take me away.
No.
I don't know.
No, it definitely did not.
It was it was
particularly inspire me to want to read.
yeah.
It
It was weird seeing Hal being so, because this Black Hand sort of took over. He has to keep his hand in his jacket pocket, or else it does damage to anybody that seems to be threatening him, or it thinks it's threatening him.
Right.
But he's not the Hal Jordan we're used to, the fearless one. In fact, he's scared to death. Yeah.
And it looks like our three lanterns are all approximately the same age,
Yes.
with the possibility that John Stewart is the oldest of the three. So but yeah, it's definitely a very young Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
I would argue an aged up Sojourner, and John may be again the oldest of the group, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he has gray hair. When I say, he just looks the most mature
Yeah.
of the three. So.
Right. Right.
So it appears that in this absolute Green Lantern, Sojourner, I keep wanting to say Sojourner Truth.
Just say Joe. Oh,
So,
yeah, Joe. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. So Joe is going to be the featured Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So if you aren't familiar with Joe, she first appeared in the Far Sector comics, if I remember
Yep.
correctly.
I almost said Far Side, but not those comics.
We're getting the distinct possibility that Hal Jordan might be one of the bad guys, though we don't know that for sure. And then it is not apparent whether or not the lanterns, meaning like Abin Sur, are completely altruistic. Even though Joe has apparently the lantern power, we do not know. I mean, they dropped the construct basically on a town and killed some people. So we just don't know what caused that to happen.
Right.
So that's part of it's going to theoretically going to be part of the story moving forward.
Yes. Yep.
So what else you got for Green
Not
Lantern?
a darn thing.
Not a darn thing. All right. Well, then let's just wrap up our absolutes with Martian Manhunter.
All right, our sixth book that we looked at in the absolute line was Martian Manhunter #1 by Dennis Camp and Javier Rodriguez. Dennis Camp being one of the more up and coming writers I've found these days. And the quick synopsis is FBI agent John Jones is caught in a suicide bombing but miraculously survives. To the dismay of his wife Bridget, he convinces his boss to allow him to keep working as long as John stays out of the bombing investigation, which is assigned to Agent Newell. Defiantly, John does visit the crime scene and talks to people that knew the bomber, looking for clues or patterns. He subconsciously, almost psychically, makes realizations about them. Conversely, John struggles to recognize his own home and begins to notice multicolored smoke emanating from people and things. When checking in on his mute son Tyler, he points toward a clay figure. When checking in on his mute son Tyler and asks which of these clay figures that he was making was him, meaning John, he points to this green one that looks like a Martian. And at a visit with the bomber's mother, this is John again doing the unauthorized investigation. The mother of the bomber, is like emanating smoke, this multicolored smoke, and John breathes it in, and all of a sudden he can experience the bomber's childhood memories, and he's freaking out kind of. He runs out to the street. He sees everybody's got smoke coming out from him, and he hears a voice encouraging him to breathe it in. And as the Martian enters John's mind, he hears it say, "We're the Martian," and you want to think it's going to say Manhunter, but it says mine star 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 like Mindhunter. I don't know what that's all about, but that's what it said, which might be more appropriate than Manhunter if it's Mindhunter. So, yeah.
Right. So, like, why are they having to put asterisks there?
I know. I'm totally baffled by that. Yeah.
And it's backwards.
And it's like, yeah, well, if you have the physical copy, and I didn't read the physical copy, if you have the physical copy, you're supposed to hold it up to the light, and you can see what that's saying. Like
The mirror, you mean?
no, it's like hold it up to the light, and you can see the back side of it. It's like you could filter it.
Oh.
Yeah, the light pushes through the image on the back side. So on the
Okay, so that image of the yellow with his face.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what you seen on the app was just basically what you would see. Something I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's on the app, so it's free. So just check it out.
Okay. Well, but that would have been interesting to see. So that's always.
I know.
It's like,
Yeah.
what do you lose
Yeah.
whenever you read digitally? Well,
Yeah.
that's something
That is-
that
yeah.
I lost out on
Me
by
too,
reading
'cause
this one digitally.
I didn't buy the first issue of this. I bought like the second or third, and I'm like, yeah. I don't know if there's any more. I didn't keep buying it, but I do have a couple issues of it.
Man, this feels like a Grant Morrison Doom Patrol
Yeah.
or just something
Yes.
way out there, Milkman Wars
It's
or something. It's so bizarre.
It's not as bad as the Doom Patrol of what's that guy that did that My Chemical Romance? He did the writing on that latest or second to last version of the Doom Patrol. It was so weird, but it was almost weird for weird's sake. And I think some of Morrison's stuff is this way too. So if you do try hard, you can see the thread of this story. It's not that deep. It's pretty easy to get through. It's you see that there's a pattern in things. Everybody's smoking like it's in the 1960s. You got the Human Flame, which was the Martian Manhunter's first villain from the 1950s. You've got these Martian references, like the other agent that doesn't like John always calls him the Martian because he's so cold. And then, of course, the sun's clay figure. It's to me, it's just really psychedelic and offbeat. I don't know how long I will like that. Right now, it's kind of okay, but it's not. I don't know. Like I said, like you said, if it's too much work, I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah. I absolutely should have read this issue twice.
Oh yeah.
I only read it once, and I didn't know going back about that being one of the Martian Manhunter's first villains. So there are some things, homage is not the right word,
Just
but
Easter eggs and stuff like that.
yeah, that I just didn't know that I did know with some of the other characters because I have a little bit better, background with some of the other characters than what I do with Martian Manhunter, especially like Silver Age Martian Manhunter.
I mean,
But this one, yeah,
if
was definitely the oddest.
yeah, odd as it was, I think it's because I mean, and except for when John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, played the role of the glue to the Justice League, I like the Morrison run of the Justice League where he was like telekinetically keeping all of the members, in line for whatever battle they were going into. He had a real role. He was kind of central to a lot of the stories, but otherwise he's not really used that much. This seems to kind of renew a little bit of usefulness for the character. Uh, I'm better. I'm more okay with this really really weird version than I
Hmm.
am with the pointy headed one from
Yeah.
like the final Crisis era.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's about all I had from it because it's really it. It's not much more to.
So I guess the thing to say, if you want to pick this one up, just be prepared at least for the first few issues to have to do some work. I feel like you got to do the most work on this one
Sure.
to kind
Yeah.
of understand what's going on
Yeah.
of the six.
But
So now,
Dennis Camp is that way. He writes that series, assorted crisis events, and it's out there too. But yeah, so that's his thing, I guess.
okay, so you said you kind of had an idea about how you would rank these if you had to rank them.
Yeah.
So do you have a let's go let's do pretty simple here. Let's do top 3 and bottom 3.
Okay.
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 So do you want to do top 3 first or bottom 3 first?
Let's start with the top.
Top of the top. Okay, so what are your top 3 then?
It'd be Wonder Woman, Batman, and Flash.
Wow. Okay. So we agree on one.
Okay.
So I would agree with Wonder Woman being in the top 3. Okay. I think my other 2 are going to be Superman and Martian Manhunter. So if I had to pick 3 of them to read the second issue,
Yeah.
those would be the 3 second issues that I would want to read.
Right.
So, all right. So we agree on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But I've got Martian Manhunter and Superman, and then you have Batman and Flash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what? All right. So what about Batman makes you want to keep reading Batman?
I'm intrigued about Alfred quite a bit and Black Mask and his power grab for the Gotham, crime families. I think there is a very violent tone, except like you mentioned that the one thing consistent is that this Batman does not kill. I mean, he went to the trouble of taking this crazy shotgun, military grade shotgun, and converted to where it only shot out little tiny batarangs, that
Yeah.
poke Alfred in the face. But no, that's what I like about it, and I'll admit, Nick Dragotta's art from reading East of West has me as a new fan. So that's got me kind of sold too.
Okay. So what about Flash makes you want to come back to it?
Really, the Rogues more than anything.
Okay. So it's not even the Flash.
No.
It's you want to see what they do with the villains.
Yeah, it really
Okay.
is. That's the truth. The rest of it's okay, but I love those. I love freaking Captain Cold, man. I love this version of him. He's not, and he still has those goggles with the slit, that mat. That's great, man. But it's the Rogues.
Okay. So for Wonder Woman, and since we both put Wonder Woman in the top 3, I like the modification of the power set. The fact that she doesn't have, I felt like it was a little bit more variation on the origin. I mean, I really don't feel like there's a massive change for Batman, and we've got the experiment goes wrong with the Flash, and I mean, it kind of feels like more of the same. And for the most part, it could have just been part of a regular Flash story arc, or it could have been part of a regular Batman story. Whereas this does feel a little different for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
It almost makes me want to see the next issue.
It's interesting to see Cersei have redeeming qualities, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So that means so my bottom three
Mhm.
were Flash, Green Lantern, and Batman. So the only one that we agreed on was Green Lantern, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Green Lantern. Yeah, I just was not interested at all in that Green Lantern story.
Yeah.
It did nothing for me.
Unfortunately, no, I can't say that
Yeah.
it. I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if Hal's going to be a unwitting
Yeah, good
villain,
guy or a bad guy or what? Yeah.
or is are the Green Lanterns going to be? I mean, because like you said, that giant construct of the Green Lantern symbol fell on this town, so
hmm
at the very least, it's very negligent of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Abin Sur doesn't look. I mean, appearances aren't everything, but he doesn't
No,
necessarily look like he's meant to be a good guy. I don't know.
no. A naked, out of costume
Yeah,
alien
yeah,
is what he
yeah. I
is.
don't know what's
So
going on. I don't get it. I like Joe Moline
and,
as a Green Lantern.
yeah.
Yeah.
I that's the one thing. If there was one thing that was going to keep me on that book, that would be her.
hmm
But it's like at this point, I've not read Far Sector. If I want to read about her, I'm just going to go read Far Sector.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep picking up Absolute Green Lantern. I want to read,
Yeah.
her first appearance, her first
un-
story arc in Far Sector.
Unfortunately, it was a good series. Far Sector was, but
Mhm.
they've just made her another Green Lantern now. I wish she was.
Yeah.
I wish this her specialness would have been retained.
hmm
The whole idea was that she was in literally the farthest sector away, and she was kind of on her own. She didn't have the support of the core, and
Right. Which is just wrong from the get go.
yeah, yeah.
But
But in Green Lantern comic, which I'm reading currently, she's another Kyle, another
mhm.
uh, whatever the
Jessica Cruz.
Yeah, it's just
Or
another Green Lantern,
yeah.
and we got too many on Earth anyway, and it's just
Mhm.
yeah, make her special again.
Oh yeah. No. So yeah, if I was going to read her, that's what I would go back and read. So
Yeah,
well, okay.
I mean,
I guess that just about covers it. So, do you have an absolute favorite of the three?
oh, Wonder Woman for sure. Yeah,
Wonder Woman.
yeah.
I'm, I think I like Wonder Woman the best. Also, I think the one that I would be most likely to come back to and read the second issue is Martian Manhunter. And I don't know. I can't decide if I really like Martian Manhunter or not. But it's the one that has the. I wonder where it's going the most.
Yeah,
If I were to, that's the thing about
yeah,
it.
if I were to swap out Flash for anything, it'd be Martian Manhunter. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna read them all. I'll be honest with you, they're on the app, so I'm gonna read them all now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if I didn't have so much other stuff on the app that I wanted to read and just keeping up with my monthly stuff, I don't
that's
know.
just
But
the story of our life, Scott.
yeah, yeah, and this is ultimately my problem with the Absolute Universe, with Marvel's Ultimate Universe, is we know at some point in the future there's going to be the Absolute Batman versus Batman,
Yeah,
or whatever that crossover that's going to happen at some point in the future, and I'm already just dreading that.
and that's already. I mean, at least with DC, they aren't being coy about it. They're making that clear. There's
Yeah.
going to be with Marvel. They kind of like put it off for a long time and then finally gave in.
Mhm.
But that's
Yeah.
with any.
They did the whole
Yeah,
Secret War thing, which
Mhm.
was had the universes combine, and
yeah.
yeah, it's just I'm just.
I'd
dreading
rather,
that,
yeah,
you know?
but I'm with you. I'd rather just see this stay in Earth that doesn't come to the
Mhm.
mainstream Earth for
Yeah.
a long, long, long time. Yeah.
And there's this thing where they want to maintain like trademark and or copyright on these characters. So now these are just variations on these characters that they're going to have to keep bringing back periodically just to maintain that
Ha-
trademark on these things.
yeah.
So
Have you read Absolute Evil?
I have not.
Did you order it or no?
No, because I'm not buying
Okay.
any of the Absolute
So
stuff.
check that one out because it's a good tie-in to. It's part of all this. It's basically the villains. You've got, uh, yeah, you've got new Absolute Universe versions of some key villains. So
Okay.
that one I enjoyed
But
quite a bit. But
okay. But I'm not super interested in the Absolute
yeah,
Universe, you know?
yeah.
So I just don't know. I haven't read any of the current run of Ultimate. from the Marvel
Yeah.
stuff.
I want to read
And it's
Spider-Man.
supposed to end
Yeah.
at 24. Issue 24 is supposed to be the last
Last
issue of
Spider-Man.
Ultimate
Yeah.
Spider-Man. But is it the last? Is it the end of the Ultimate Universe, or is it just,
No.
oh, we got a new number one coming up
Yeah.
after that? So, we'll guess we'll find out in
Well,
next month's
our
previews.
buddy Matt Martin will go to the wall for that Ultimate Spider-Man. He really liked it. So I
The new one or the previous
the
one?
new one, this one, this
Oh, the new
iteration.
one?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
got
All
the
right.
first volume that I want to read, but haven't yet.
Yeah. Nope. That's, yeah. So, all right. Well, we ready to change gears?
Which gear? First, second, third, fourth, fifth?
Fifth, or how about all
All
five?
right,
I
let
don't
me
know. For the
rev
first
it up.
five Savage Dragon.
Rev it up. There you go. Yeah, we'll rev it up, starting in first gear. Yeah.
All right. So, of course, if you are not familiar with Savage Dragon, this is a character created by Erik Larsen, who eventually did work at Marvel. He kind of came after McFarlane on Amazing Spider-Man. That's really, in my mind, where he got his big break. And then he was there before Mark Bagley, so
Yeah.
so he's kind of in that in between McFarlane and Mark Bagley on Amazing Spider-Man. So he wasn't there for Venom, he wasn't there for Carnage. He was the guy in between them.
Yep.
But he was part of the big Image Comics shakeup, and one of the characters, or the character that he brought to Image Comics, was the Savage Dragon, or as he was known previously as just the Dragon. So the Dragon, or Savage Dragon's first, we'll say 6 appearances. So his first appearance was in a self-published comic book called Graphic Fantasy. All right. And then there was a second issue of Graphic Fantasy. The first issue was an anthology story that had had a dragon story and then 2 other stories. The second issue, as far as I know, is only has a dragon story. Now, we chose to ignore comic Megaton number 3. It was number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this has a cameo appearance of Savage Dragon, and he's on the cover. But that book was going to cost us like $60, $70 to track down, and we decided it wasn't really relevant to the first 5 appearances. So if you are a nitpicker, you have Megaton number 3. That could be argued as the third appearance of Savage Dragon.
Yep.
Which then leads into the Image universe. We had a 3-issue miniseries that introduces the Savage Dragon, where he actually takes the name The Savage Dragon, into Image Comics, and written, drawn by Erik Larsen. So, anything important there, Mike? You feel like I left out?
No, I mean, I found most interesting in these Graphic Fantasy and the first issues of Savage Dragon the letter columns, and I found out that Larsen first conceived of Savage Dragon. Well, I guess there wasn't a lot letter column in the
Graphic Fantasy
but
one, but the
yeah,
2.
but in the Savage Dragon issues they talk about those issues, and Larsen apparently first conceived of Savage Dragon in 1972 when he was about 10 years old. Now this must be a very creative minded, this kid had a really creative mind. I mean, just talking about how he had all these stories like developed. He had years worth of stories that he had kind of that he would have loved to have told, but he lost them in a fire later on in life. And so yeah, I like I said, I found that I was looking to see, just out of curiosity, if I could find that Megaton 3. It was $70 at the cheapest.
Yep.
And also the Graphic Fantasies, these are reprints that I got from
Yes, me too.
online. And the originals must be pretty scarce because it says there were only 500 copies of each of them.
So that is actually high.
Yeah.
There are 300 or 350 copies of issue 1 and 500 or 600 copies of issue 2.
Yeah.
I actually do, at the current time, own copies of both Graphic Fantasy number 1 and
That's
Graphic Fantasy
amazing.
number 2.
Wow.
So, and the nice thing about those is that the Graphic Fantasy, they're both signed. The Graphic Fantasy number 1, because it was such a limited print run. The 3 creators, you got the Dragon, Ironhawk, and Prism. All right, so those three guys all signed the back of every single copy of Graphic Fantasy #1.
Dang, that's cool.
Okay. And I think, and then the Graphic Fantasy #2 is also signed by Erik Larsen. So,
Wow. And you're gonna let me know when you're ready to sell that.
oh well, they're on my wall, but they are pretty pricey.
Okay.
So
All
we're talking, yeah.
right. we
And okay, so side story. So the first convention that I had them at out on this on the wall was at one of the shows in the comic shows in Evansville, and there was a guy, actually a guy. His name is David Brandstetter, and he's part of a Savage Dragon fan club. So they had this contest type thing where they were taking submissions to put into a comic book called Super Freaks. So this was published by Erik Larsen. I've got it around someplace,
hmm
but he had an entry where he did a 6-page Captain Tootsie story that was selected for Super Freaks. So he was published in an Image comic in the book Super Freaks with the Captain Tootsie story. What's also cool is I own that complete all the original art for that complete
Oh,
story.
wow.
But anyway, so since he is a huge Erik Larsen fan because he's part of the group and anyway, so I whenever I had these, I knew he was a fan. I showed them to him. He took pictures of them, posted them in their like their fan club discussion board, and Erik Larsen actually commented back on the pictures that he posted.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Oh,
So anyway,
wow.
just throwing that out there.
Wow. I've looked at your board of comics for sale before, and I never realized what I was looking at, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean,
And what's funny is like whenever they reprinted these graphic fantasies, I bought several. I actually have like 4 or 5 copies of the reprint of Graphic Fantasy #1, and I only have one copy of issue 2. But I put them on the wall with them, so if somebody does want to buy the original, they can have the reprint for free to have one they can actually read, and not have to open up and read
yeah,
the original.
that's cool.
All right, so Mike, what was your first introduction to the character the Savage Dragon?
Well, first of all, this is my favorite question, I think, of this series of questions you have for the first 5. And I was like thinking back, I'm like, what was it? Because I'm never really 100% sure or rarely really sure.
Mm-hmm.
But my best guess is that it was in the 90s, probably when Erik Larsen took over the Aquaman series in 1998. And I was interested in who this guy was because there was a lot of ballyhoo about him coming on to the series, even though it wasn't really very well critically received. So I did some research.
I didn't know he worked on
He
Aquaman.
did, yeah. It wasn't a great little run of Aquaman, but I did some online research. I probably read something in one of those fanzines about him, one Wizard or something, but I can't say that I actually read, a Savage Dragon book back then at all. Yeah.
Okay, so my first when I first became aware of the Savage Dragon was as part of Image Comics. You know, you had that run of those 5 creators that left Marvel DC and that all started their own books. So you had McFarlane with Spawn, which by the way was the only one that I actually picked up and read on a monthly basis. I saw the Savage Dragon whenever it came out by Erik Larsen. Never bought an issue, so I had not actually read any Savage Dragon comics until probably a few years ago, and I think I finally sat down and read like the first 3 issues, and this was before I became aware that there were. At that time, I thought Megaton #3 was the first Savage Dragon comic book,
hmm
not knowing about Graphic Fantasy 1 and 2, and we actually learned about the first appearance of the Savage Dragon from a previews episode when these graphic fantasies were submitted or solicited as reprints of the original Savage Dragon stories or
hmm
Dragon stories as he's called in those books. So yeah, I'm trying to think the other. So you had Jim Lee, I guess, was doing Wildstorm, McFarlane Spawn, Erik Larsen Savage Dragon.
Sylvester doing something or Liefeld or
Silvestri did something. What did he do? And then Silverhawk was Valentino,
Mm.
and Silvestri did. Oh my gosh, it was a team book. See, oh, Liefeld. We forgot about Liefeld and Youngblood. And Silvestri did one other. What was the book that he did? Man, that's terrible. Not Youngblood, not
It was
Wildcats.
a
It
team
was.
team.
I think it was a team book. It doesn't matter. That's not who we're talking
Yeah.
about. But the only one out of all of those books that I read for a while was Spawn.
Okay.
So again, it wasn't until several years later that I ever bothered messing or reading anything Savage Dragon.
Yeah.
All right, so Mike, what are your thoughts on the? I guess we can say on the Savage Dragon from Graphic Fantasy. What jumped out to you about this character as he was originally envisioned?
Well, I would say that I actually like the 1982 Dragon version in these graphic fantasy books better than the extreme 90s version. It's I mean, they seemed a little bit more straightforward. He was a conflicted superhero. He had straightforward powers. I mean, the art and the everything was sort of on the amateur side, but I mean, Larsen was only 20 years old at the time. So, but I enjoyed those probably as better than I enjoyed the the best parts about the image ones was the references to the past and I yeah, and you know, you had like the Super Patriot is a you know a an
Hmm.
analog of Captain America, and you got
Mighty
the
Man
Mighty
is
Man is
Superman. Yeah,
Captain Marvel, Shazam, I think.
more so than Superman.
I'd
Yeah.
say, yeah, but that was pretty cool. But I mean, that's what I remember. That my original thoughts were, I kind of like this down to earth. I mean, it's the graphic fantasy stories are set. We find out later that they were set farther in the future, even though he didn't have the name Savage Dragon, because
Hmm.
his name was Paul, and Paul was a later identity for Savage Dragon. It wasn't. It's somewhat confusing for me, but
Yeah.
I like I just like the stories of those, and they more so than the extreme versions in this image book.
Well, once again, we're going to be different because I actually did prefer the image books over the original graphic fantasy. I thought but as far as the original version of the character, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it is pretty straightforward. You know, it would have been 80s, 90s comic book fare.
Yeah,
Just a lot of punching, and you can see this coming out of the mind of a 10-year-old kid, right? So my
yeah,
hero is tougher and stronger than the other
yeah.
than the other heroes that he goes up against, and he can take them all on. But it's a little dark. Even the graphic fantasy. I mean, his
Hmm.
wife is murdered, and then he has a daughter, and his daughter is just nearly dies
Yeah,
by being
yeah.
spiked to death. Um, so I mean, it's. I wouldn't say that the image version is any darker than the graphic
I think by
fantasy
extreme
version.
I mean the art probably more than
Ah,
anything. You know,
okay.
they're the chest and the muscles are bigger than anything that's actually possible. Uh,
Yes.
you know what it looked like, yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, but yeah, I it was it's interesting to see that after he had 10 years between 82 and 92 to kind of evolve his idea of what he wanted to do with this character.
And I kind of wonder if anything in the current Savage Dragon run ultimately ties back to what we had here in graphic fantasy because in the Savage Dragon he has amnesia. He doesn't remember.
Hmm.
He's still in Chicago, okay, but he decides to go to work for the
Yeah,
police. So there's not any of this tie back to this organization. What was it called?
the SOS
Yeah, the
Society of
SOS.
Superheroes, was it?
Yeah, but there was also the group had a name. Um, the they had another name. I would have swore. I thought it started with like a C. It's not important, but
Hmm.
um, But anyway, so like he was like in charge of that. That's when he like retired from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like in the first one he's already retired from the group. So the complex, there
The
it is.
complex. Yeah,
The
that's right.
government
Yeah.
run facility. Okay, that's a
That's the
facility
facility.
called the
Yes. Yeah.
complex. And he was like over it. He worked there for 8 years and then he retires.
Yeah.
And he just wants to live a regular life because his wife gets murdered by, and I've already forgot the possessor.
Yeah. I forget.
I think is who it was. So yeah, I mean, but there are so many villains that get introduced
yeah.
here.
I mean, yeah.
You know,
Throughout these,
it's almost like a Kirby thing. You
Yeah.
know, there's just like let's just throw everything
All
out
these
there
ideas.
that we can, yeah, and see what happens. You know, and then we'll run with
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
all right, so how much do you feel like we get of this character's origin here in these first 5 appearances?
I think you get enough to know that he doesn't know what his origin is. I mean, there's evolution. As far as the second part of that question, has there anything been forgotten, changed, or retconned? I have more on that than I do on the origin, because the origin is basically he doesn't know. He just lands. He's here. He's doesn't know what he's here for. Depending on whether it's the graphic fantasy stories or the image stories, it's different times in his life or his story. So yeah, it's in the image ones, I think he's moved on from his deceased wife, and there's a different woman in his life, Marcy or something like that. But
Eventually,
yeah.
But like, so it's kind of, again, I'm interested to know long term how much ties back, because if it does tie back to graphic fantasy, then what happened to his daughter in that time from graphic fantasy to the Savage Dragon?
Yeah.
If it doesn't tie back, then we can ignore that.
Right,
If
right.
it does tie back, is the possessor going to
It's
show
somewhat-
back up?
Yeah, somewhat
So
contradictory.
again, just reading the first 5, there's some questions that we're left
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. I mean, so if you consider the dragon version a prototype that led to the 1992 image version, I mean, and the dragon had a fin, but not much of one. That wasn't very pronounced, and it's more pronounced now up into current day. The code name, of course, we already said, the actual identity, Paul or Malcolm or Kerr or whoever, it's all different. But we don't really know through these 5 issues how that all happens.
Okay. Now, one thing that I do know is that, Savage Dragon is at Image the second longest running title after only Spawn. Okay. I guess it had 3 issues that it went back to number 1. So you can actually take its current issue number and add 3 to it to find out how many actual issues there have been of the Savage Dragon. So it's up in the 270s, I think.
I have.
So it's
issue
you have
277.
277. Okay, so we're getting close to issue 300 from Erik Larsen, and that what's different about Savage Dragon compared to like Spawn is that it's been Erik Larsen on every single issue, and that is not the case with Spawn. And as far as I know, excluding covers, Larsen has written and drawn all of those issues. There are not any. There are lots of Spawn titles or Spawn books that McFarlane did not draw, and I assume there are quite a few that he didn't write.
I think you're right. All these spin-offs like Gunslinger Spawn and all that.
Well, I'm just talking about the Spawn proper title.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right.
Just the regular Spawn. There was a time where he wasn't writing them. Somebody else was writing them. Now, so really, Erik Larsen, short of like Dave Sims' Cerebus, he's going to be in the running for the longest, especially the longest creator-owned, creator-produced, creator-written and drawn book in history. So because Cerebus got to 300, but there were some issues of Cerebus that were like 2 issue numbers in 1 issue. It was weird how they did that just for publishing purposes or whatever. So.
Well,
but yeah, he's going to be right there.
This one here the reason I got this is because literally it was up
Spotlight.
The Spotlight issue of Batman. There was a facsimile edition of it on the wall at this comic shop, and this was next to it. So I'm sure they did it by design, but I'm like, oh, I got to get that. That's an homage cover. So Yeah.
Now, I think you mentioned Malcolm Dragon.
Yeah, that was like his son or something, wasn't it?
His son,
Yeah.
right. So that's one of the other things about the Savage Dragon is that there's legacy built into the title. So I don't even know. We know that his son takes over at some point, but is it because I don't know if this dragon died, if this dragon retired, if this dragon, what happened to this dragon? And I got to decide if I want to put in that 280 issue time commitment to actually read that entire series, because that's a pretty
It's a lot.
that's a lot. It's like, do I just want to jump in at issue? Let's read the 100 or find a synopsis and start reading just before the change from Paul to Malcolm or whatever. I don't know. It's like I'm been stewing that over for a while, and of course, as I stew that over, I think I started stewing it over around issue 250. Well, now we've got 20 something more issues added to the reading pile if I were to decide to go back and do that. So, anything else you want to add about his origin that's maybe changed or retcon? While I'm thinking of it, I was reading that second issue of Graphic Fantasy, and I was a dummy. I read the first the Image 3 issues of Savage Dragon, and then went back and read Graphic Fantasy.
Oh.
So, it really doesn't matter a whole lot that I read them in that way. It didn't really impact anything. But I was reading that second issue of Graphic Fantasy 2, and it's just black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he's there with his daughter and a woman. I was like, does Erik Larsen have no memory? Because his wife dies, and he's already. But finally, they explain, okay, this is the new girlfriend, and it's still the same daughter. And it's like I was thinking for a while. It's like, man, trying to talk about not having any continuity.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
But they did correct that, or not correct it, but it was my mistake, not his mistake. So, all right. So, anything else you want to add about the origin, or
No.
forgotten, changed, retconned, whatever?
None of the origins. No.
Okay. All right. So power set, pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Super strength, rapid healing.
Yep. Resilience. He's a tough guy. I love the fact in the Image. That's one of my favorite things about the Image comics is that he's a cop, and he's got a cop uniform. I mean, he's openly a cop. They're like, you got to go through the academy, but And then I remembered that whenever Morrison was creating the Multiversity, he came up with the analog of Savage Dragon called Dino Cop. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
no, I do not.
It's called literally Dino Cop, almost identical in design, but it's the cop uniform, short sleeve, muscular, fin, all that.
I know from looking ahead a few issues, he has the ability to regenerate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it becomes important to his character. But he's just a big guy. I mean, he's kind of like a smart Hulk or a average intelligence Hulk. I don't know.
He's an everyman, it seems to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think has changed the most about this character from the original appearances to today?
Well, I can only speak to the difference between 82 and 92 versions. But I haven't read this number 277. If I can glean anything from it, I would be happy to report back later to see what other evolution there is. I just don't know.
If I remember correctly, that issue that you have is actually going to be, I think, so that would be the third generation of dragons. So you have Paul, and then you have Malcolm, and then the dragon on the cover is, I think, the son of Malcolm.
Really?
Because I remember in a previews issue, they were talking about the 4 dragon children were each getting their own issue, and that was, I think, one of those issues that you showed me. So there's at least the son and the daughter, and then 2 others.
Yeah.
So this is becoming a third generation of dragons in the Erik Larsen run, which is, you got to give him kudos for that. If nothing else. I mean, keeping the characters have aged, they've gone through, life. We've got, changes in the title, and he's kind of setting up for a potential third generation of
Yeah.
dragons. So, anything else you want to talk about? We've already talked about the Finn. We've talked about the legacy for the modern books.
Yeah, I think that's all I can. That's really all I know. I mean, this is a very unfamiliar character to me. I just know
Oh
of
yeah.
him. I just don't know. I can't say. I just haven't read much of him other than these 5 books.
So one thing is at the beginning of the Image universe is how I'm going to refer to it. In that third issue, we get some of the young blood characters in
Yeah.
there, like Bedrock,
Yep.
and so they make an appearance. I can't imagine that is holding true now. I mean, I think you could see Spawn and Savage Dragon in a book together, but I don't think you're not going to see any Wildcats
Hmm.
in a Savage Dragon book unless DC and Image decide to do a crossover.
Yeah.
So that has kind of gone away. So that cohesive Image universe that started didn't last. So to me, that will have changed. And then the other, and this could be important for a lot of people, is that the book has moved to a mature rated book.
Mm.
So there is definitely some mature content in some of the later issues. So I don't know if that's consistent from book to book. And when I talk about mature, I'm not just talking about violence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So so that is something to, I think, be aware of if you are thinking about picking this up. Is that if you're prudish, you might not like. And I think a lot of it, I think, is with Malcolm more so than
Mm.
the first Dragon. But again, I haven't read them, so I don't know. I don't know exactly where that starts.
Yeah.
So. But yeah,
It won't.
So just
It
keep
won't
that in
scare
mind.
me off, but yet I won't be searching out just because it's just.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is what it is.
If I decide to read it, I'm gonna pick up at issue 4 and then just start reading
Yeah.
through. And then if it gets to be too much, I can always
Yeah.
just stop.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, all right. What would you, any particular moments, things that you want to call attention to in the first 5 issues?
I like the idea that the Savage Dragon enters into the story with so much unknown about his past. It leaves a lot of room for storytelling, and this is going. I mean, we're talking the first, at the very beginning here. So Larsen was smart in saying he had a lot of backstory. He could take plenty of time in telling the backstory. Um, there were characters that between the graphic fantasy version and the Image version, like Mako the shark, he was good in that graphic fantasy, but he was bad in the Image version. But if the timelines were graphic fantasy story happened later, maybe he turned good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like if I felt like the graphic fantasy stuff was chronologically before the Savage Dragon stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think he retired, stuff happened, and then he got the amnesia. And I almost feel like, from a storytelling, it's like that gave Erik Larsen time to decide: do I want to incorporate the graphic fantasy stuff,
Yeah.
or do I want to just have a fresh start?
That would make sense because the
Yeah.
wife being killed, and then it just, yeah, that makes sense. I liked Super Patriot. I liked him being, a Captain America
Analog, yeah.
and the same way with the other one, Mighty Man.
Mighty Man.
Yeah. Overlord, again, we're getting into I think that third issue of the Image series where Overlord, he's like a Doctor Doom character, and I think my favorite part of, well, I'll get to that when you ask me what my favorite of issue is.
Okay. All right. So, well, hey, Mike, what are some of your what's your favorite issue?
All right.
What do you want to talk about on
Way
your
to
favorite
keep-
issue?
Well, I think issue 3, and it comes down to one. It was the Savage Dragon Bedrock fight, and Bedrock said at the very end, he says, "Man, I was just trying to see if you had what it takes to be a member of Youngblood," and he says, that's what happens in Marvel comics all the time, and I thought that is so perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was almost self deprecating or like just making fun of the that kind of
The whole good guys fight.
right,
like,
yeah.
You got to have a reason for the good guys to fight.
Yes,
So
yes,
this was our reason for the good guys to
yeah.
fight.
I really like that about issue 3. Otherwise, a lot of it was pretty much the same all the way around.
Yeah. I actually kind of enjoyed the first issue of the miniseries. So, just because again, I hadn't read it before. I mean, I kind of had an idea of who the Savage Dragon was, but I didn't realize he had amnesia. You know, we had that trivia question one time about what city Savage Dragon worked out of. Do you remember
Chicago,
that?
Yeah.
And and it was Chicago. It was like, well, I wish I had read this before we did that trivia question.
Yep.
Then I would have the answer to that question. But so it just goes to show you I hadn't read any of this stuff. So, but I like the mystery of the origin. So in a way, I was glad that I didn't read the graphic fantasy stuff before I read the Savage Dragon. That was like a convenience thing because I read the Savage Dragon on the iPad and then came back and read the graphic fantasies physically later on. So that again, it kind of appeals to me. I'm almost interested to see how if he unravels his origin, and does it tie back to graphic fantasy or is it a whole new origin?
Yeah, it seems like a big tangled weaving of a story that would be, if one had unlimited amount of time, it would be cool to do that. But maybe if you do it, you can just give me the Cliff Notes.
There you go. I did do that with Captain
I know
America.
you did.
I went and started
That's
at 100 and read all the way to the 400 and oh gosh, I can't remember what it was.
Speaking of,
and man, as much of a Captain America fan as I am, that was a slog.
Well, you go through the 70s and 80s, yeah.
Well, sometimes the character is better than the stories that are told about the character, and I think that's the case for Captain America, especially.
No truer words were ever said.
Yeah.
And speaking of high numbers of comics, do you want to tell the world, as much of the world is listening at least, that you've reached the summit of the 500 comic reading challenge?
Well,
about
yes,
4
as
issues before
you
me.
have as well.
Yeah, I have now.
Yeah. So, well, let's come back to that. Let's circle back to that.
Okay.
Let's finish up our discussion about Savage Dragon
Okay,
first.
sure.
So, all right. So, last thing, do you plan to seek out more stories with the Savage Dragon? And you've kind of already answered this question. So.
Yeah, I do. I mean, especially since I have this one issue at least, and I may try to figure out, look online to find some story arcs that are key to tell me more about them without reading some of the lesser quality stuff. So it would be worth doing that. Yeah. I mean, the design of the character is really cool. You have to admit that. Yeah.
I had always intended to go back and read these, and I am certain that at one time the early Savage Dragon books were on Comixology. You could read them for free. Unfortunately, all I was able to find this time was the Savage Dragon archives, which are black and white, and I just do not want to read this character in black and white. I don't know why, but I want to.
If you want to see your green skin dragon,
I want to
guy,
see green
you want
skin.
to see the green.
Yeah. So I want to see it. So if at some point I am able to get that Savage Dragon Volume 1 in full color, can read it on Comixology, or if it's like get the whole series for super cheap. I definitely plan to pick it up and kind of read that, but I'm not in a rush to read it, but it is kind of on my list. I got this list of comics that's like I should go back and read this.
Yeah.
It's recommendations and such, and I'm going to put myself a little reminder on my list that this is something I actually do want to check for in the future.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mike. Now we can talk about our 500 book challenge. So why don't you go first?
Well, Scott did the old but effective trick of just lulling me after all of these months of reading comics. He fell farther and farther behind, and then finally I came to realize, he told me basically that, well, I've read a bunch, but I haven't put them on our text streams.
Okay, but this was months ago.
Yeah.
Months ago.
So all of a sudden I'm thinking I got a comfortable 50 issue 50 comic lead. And all of a sudden, he's like within 5 comics. So then weeks ago, I mean, he's inching up. I'm at 497, or no, let's say I'm at 488, and he's at 486, and it just was like that, and he's like just nipping at my heels, and all of a sudden, I go in spurts because if I'm traveling, I read a bunch on a plane or whatever, and then all of a sudden I couldn't read for a while, and he mounted Mount Everest. He climbed up Mount Everest. I think it was on October
See
5th.
what day.
Yeah, you did it on
Yeah.
October 5th. It took me until Sunday, this past Sunday, the 12th, I guess, 11th or 12th, something like that. Yep. So,
Yeah, you were at 499 on the 9th, and then you crossed it over on the 10th.
yep.
Looks like.
Yep.
Absolute Superman #1 was your 500th book. My 500th book was, where's my list at? Looks like Undead Iron Fist #1
Oh,
was my book number 500. So yeah, that day so the day I hit 500, I was at 494, and I hadn't told you the 2 books that I'd read the day before.
yeah.
So it was like, okay, so I'm at 496 because I had read Batgirl 11 and Batman 1. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to, it was a Sunday afternoon. It's like, all right, I'm just going to read 4 books. I went through my 2 read pile, and I wanted to be for sure that when I got to my 500 that I had read more physical comic books than I had read digital comic books. So my 500 was 260 physical comic books and 240 digital comic books.
Yeah.
So I was leaning more towards the physical, so I was glad that I did that. But it's like, all right, so I grabbed 4 books out of the pile, and it was Captain America #3, Murder Podcast #1, New Gods 10, and Undead Iron Fist. And I sat down and just
Totally
read them
random.
all. Yeah, just read them all, and so I could get to that 500.
Nice. Nice. Yep. It's the most comics I've read in 10 months, in a long, long time. And
Yeah. I have no idea. I'm sure whenever I was, 14, 15, I was probably reading way more than this. Because there was a time whenever I had read every single comic book in my collection. That is no longer the case.
Yeah.
For sure. But it was good to, actually do a lot of comic book reading this year.
And I've gotten to the point in my collection where once I've read something through the older comics, I think I'm going to get rid of it. Like I've got the entire run of Batman Family. I followed along on those with a podcast that covered it, and now I've got it in my box to send it to you, to sell to you.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm going to be doing more of that, I think. I just have to.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know. You got anything else, Mike, other than maybe talk about what we'll be doing on episode, oh my gosh, 222?
222.
Is that right?
222. Yeah, we'll be doing our monthly review of the pre-order catalogs, all online and in our routine fashion of trying to keep it organized. And try to.
And hopefully we'll have more to talk about in
Yeah.
the November catalogs than we did in the October catalogs. Because man, it
was pretty slim pickings.
They were rough. Yeah, very slim pickings.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, though.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have something. So well, theoretically we could be getting, a Legion book from DC.
That would be.
In that
I
catalog.
would be so excited. I like Joshua Williams. If he's passionate about it, I think it'll be great. And he's kind of like he and Daniel Warren Johnson, Jeremy Adams. They appeal to those readers that have they got new concepts, but yet they also bring in some nostalgia into the characters and the stories. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you besides podcasts at bergcomics.com, how might they do that?
Well, you've got the email account, it's Mike at comicshoproadshow.com, and you also have our Facebook page, Campus Comics Cast, and you can leave a note there. That's the best 2 ways.
And I am Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, BURG where there are links to my social media pages and eBay store. We'll be back soon with pre-orders.
For the first time, I've had to bleep out a word on my roadshow recording. Just
Who was a responsible party?
Shag Matthews from.
Okay.
But it was actually, it wasn't like an egregious slip of the tongue. He even asked him, "I just say it, I'll take care of it." But we were doing a sad sack comic, and he was telling the history of that term, sad sack. It's short for sad sack of you know what. So yeah, people will get with. I had to look online. Give me a bleep for curse words.
Yeah. You should have just changed it to poop. Sound recorded poop and just voiced over poop.
Yeah. Caca.